It's time for another musical interlude. Let's get started. Talking with people with music in their genes, their blood, and in their soul. You are watching Musical Interlude. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Musical Interlude. I'm your host, Casey Bell, and today, calling in from Dubai, we have Vishaal Ganesh talking about his latest solo single, Wall of Memories. Let's take a listen in on our interview together. When did you begin to notice your abilities for music?
I've kind of grown up with music in and around me since a young age, to be honest. But I didn't really take it seriously at the same. But I did get an opportunity to sing for a track for someone else in like 2017, and so I really liked the experience, and so I started working on like, okay, what can I do with this? And I started developing myself a little bit one by one, and then getting myself. I'm so sorry about that. Getting myself a microphone to record with at home was a huge turning point as well, though. It just gave me access. Yeah, sorry.
And so when did you kind of already answered that question, but when did you really get to the point to where you said, I'm going to do this for real? I'm really going to take on this journey.
So it wasn't really a specific moment for me because before doing this single by myself, I had already recorded a bunch of songs for other music composers and producers back in India, and I have put out saying like EPs, if you want to call it, like 4 song collections. I put out 2 of them, one every year, so one in 2019 and one in 2020. So all of this has come out, but it was all in my native language, or yeah, it's in my native language and everything. So that was one thing, and so trying to, but I have grown up with English music in and around me all the time. So I started writing in English, and because that's my most fluent language, if you can believe that. So I started writing in the language that I was comfortable with.
So in your time of recording and being in the studios, what are some things you learned about the music business that were maybe a shock to you or you were unaware?
It's yeah. So that's the thing. So since this was not the first time I went into a studio, but I learned something about independent music release with this release, because previous to this I've released with labels, so I really didn't need to do much of the behind the scenes work. So if we had given them the music and the supporting material, and everything else was taken care of by the label itself. This was the first time where I had to get my hands dirty with literally every single aspect that comes with a release. Like, let's say, a strategy for content in terms of like a release. Let's say I'm going to announce a song on this particular date, and then content planning and all of that. That was something that was new to me, but it was also fun. So saying it wasn't really like a realization of like, oh wow, but it was more complicated than I thought.
Talk about your latest single, Wall of Memories. What inspired the writing of that song?
Okay, so Wall of Memories. I actually I was traveling somewhere in 2019, and I was just listening to this song. I'm not sure if you heard of the artist AJR. So I was listening to their song, and then I just had this idea of or like this inspiration where I was like, I want to talk about childhood. This is a song about childhood, and so I wanted to write something along the lines of childhood and like a nostalgic. I want to set a nostalgic scene around the whole concept of childhood. So that's what I wanted to do. And because I was not a writer then. I didn't know how the first thing about writing a song. So I had help from one of my friends. One of my friends, Javeria, and she was basically she's the one that's good at writing and everything. So I had asked her to help me out with this, And so she, within a week, she had given me a poem ready with like uh, where the chorus of the song is based off of like heavily. But I was not able to relate to a lot of the other elements, so I kind of rewrote it because I wanted it to come from my personal experiences and tell my own story in that. So the that's what. So this song is was under construction for over a year and a half, and it's kind of really nice to know that it's finally done, and and it's coming out in another 2 days.
Is this a single a part of the album? Is the whole album done, or are you still working on some of the other music?
I'm working on the music as we speak, but I'm not sure if I want to go the traditional route of just putting out albums one after the other, because for an album, I we every ideally you would need some traction to go with for. So I'm leaning more towards single releases, but on a consistent basis. So with maybe every month or every couple of months, I want to put out a single where I've worked a lot hard. Like I put my whole effort into one song where I can basically put my best foot forward in every single one.
And are you working with other musicians, or are you doing it all by yourself? The
Um,
production.
yeah. So Wall of Memories. I had a producer who was helping me with this. As I said, this is my first single doing it myself. So I composed the whole track in terms of the arrangement, but I needed help with constructing the track with all the elements and all the musical tiny effects and all of that. So, well, I had help in producing this track. So I am so his name is Rupender. He's based off of India. So we had this whole remote sessions going for the whole production of this. Um, but yeah, I did have help producing this. But the next one that I'm working on right now is it's all me from start to finish. It's all me. I'll only be mixing and mastering with someone else. But that's yeah, I'm working on. I want to do both, where I develop my skills with one song, but another one where I do need some live instruments or live or like another level of production. But I would not be afraid to like get someone in and then work with them.
When you do composing, are you self-taught or traditionally taught?
So I'm a mixture of both. That's the thing. So I was self-taught until a certain point, but then I was young and naive then, and I was not interested in this music theory. So I have half-baked information, but I am working on it to basically understand and everything. But one thing that I do like about being self-taught or just going at it with in a little bit more unconventional sense is that I'm completely reliant on just the tone and just the sound, and I'm not really confusing myself with like, oh, okay, does this sit in the key? It's just the factor of does it sound okay to me? So I am a mixture of both self-taught and traditional, but when it comes to like vocals, I am traditionally taught.
Okay. And if you can, maybe you can specifically talk about Wall of Memories. What is your normal process of making a decision on how a song is composed?
It is so it is not there's not one typical way. With some songs I would basically start with a melody. I would have something. In another one I would just have the words but not no music or chords to go with it. So so with this one I had the melody before I had the song, before I had the music, I mean the lyrics. So this process was a little bit different, where I had an idea of how I wanted to piece it together. It was just, okay, within these bars I need to have these words in, or like what words do I put in. So with the for this, I believe it or not, I had to write this at my 9 to 5, where I after like a hard day, I just after a frustrating couple of hours, I sat there and I was writing the song from start to finish in the when I'm at work. So that was the so this was completely there, and I had no idea of how it would fit, how it where I would go with this, so I had to like tweak it after I came back. But the majority of the song was written at my 9 to 5.
Amazing. So with all of the experience you've had from beginning to now, both with labels and by yourself, what advice would you give someone who wants to start but doesn't know exactly where to begin and which way is the best way?
I really don't know how I would put that, because there are benefits to both. There are definitely benefits to both, but it depends on what that person likes. If that person likes to get their hands dirty, do everything by themselves, have a greater level of control, then the independent track is the independent line is better. But it does come with a lot of restrictions, and finding the right label to release something is also key, because there are kind of situations where you could land yourself up into something shady. That's always there. But at the end of the day, it depends on whether you're someone that likes have more control over how things go and what you do with them, or if you'd like to, like, keep your mind free and then like just share the benefits afterwards.
All right. And the last question for today, if you had the opportunity to work with anyone, whether they be a musician, a singer, a producer in the music business, whether they be dead or alive, who would it be and why?
So if as a wish, then I would basically would I would want to work with Benny Blanco. So I just like the way that he constructs songs, and kind of like the whole, I don't know, it's just the vibe that just speaks to me. All day, but the moment I go straight to play with the friends I've lost along the way. Just paint pictures of my memories, cause in my heart I'm as young as 3. Dancing and singing and playing and crying in my memories of my childhood that's dying. As all these pictures fade off of these walls, oh mama, can't stop growing on. It's a weekend and I sleep till late. Tom and Jerry used to watch me play with the toys I broke and fixed with tape. Those days now seem so far away. Had a garage full of RC cars. Used to drive them down these empty halls with the plate I used to play pretend. Now I'm driving down I-10. It's like I've grown so fast, turn the pages of my story. If I could just go back, rewind to chapter 2 or 3. I'm just painting pictures of my memories, cause in my heart I'm as young as 3. Dancing and singing and playing and crying in my memories.
That is all the time we have today for this episode of Musical Interlude. I want to thank our guest, Vishaal Ganesh, for taking the time to share his journey and story with us, and to you, the audience, for taking the time to watch and listen. Thank you. Have a great day.